You're listening to
Sticky Note Conversations with Erika Washington. Way below acceptable. Way below acceptable.
On this week's episode,
I am just trying to raise people's voices and stories to the dais, but I cannot do it by myself. And honestly, do not expect me to have the solutions because I'm still learning. So I think I have to be really honest with that part of it, that piece of it.
Acceptable.
Hi, this is Gwen Frisbee-Fulton.
This is Anand Dawson.
Hi, this is Tomas Cardenio.
This is Venetia Boone, and you are listening to Sticky Note Conversations with Erika Washington.
Hey there, Sticky Note listeners. It's your host, Erika Washington, and I am so excited to be back for another episode of Sticky Note Conversations. Today's conversation will certainly be a blast. It is with one of my favorite people in the whole entire world, the Deputy Director of Make It Work Nevada. My right hand, my left hand, I don't know. I'm left-handed, so she can be whichever hand she wants to be. Brenda Zamora has been a part of the Make It Work family for many years. Make It Work's been around 10, so I think you get almost 8, 7, 8? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, so she has been around for a long time, but also she wears a lot of hats. She's also a trustee, the youngest trustee for our county school district, and she is up for re-election. I am saying that as a caveat that Make It Work Nevada is a nonpartisan organization, and we do not endorse any candidates. However, we do invite all candidates to come on and talk about their platforms. Brenda is also a Make It Work Nevada employee. So we're going to be talking about that as well. But it's a caveat, just saying it for all legal purposes for anybody who wonders. But she's more than just a sitting school board trustee. She is a mother. She is a daughter, a sister, a community member. She has sat on boards and done all kinds of things. She travels and she puts up with my nonsense on a day-to-day basis as we try to make it work because we believe in the mission that centering reproductive justice will solve all the problems in the world if people would just pay attention and listen. Anywho, welcome to Sticky Note Conversations. It is Brenda Zamora. Welcome.
Hello. I'm so excited to be back. Now that
I'm excited to have you back.
There's a lot to talk about.
There's so many things to talk about. So many things. But let's start with, first and foremost, how are you doing? How is life for Brenda Zamora?
Life is better. I think it has been really interesting to adjust to a lot of changes in my life. So turning into a caregiver to my family was a big adjustment. Being an elected official was a big adjustment. And then being a mom to teenagers has also been a big adjustment. So it has been a rough few years, and I feel like now I'm in a better place mentally, emotionally. So I'm doing good, and I like to share that I'm doing good, and I'm very honest when I'm not doing good. I'm like, I'm surviving. And people, I feel now take that seriously when I say I'm surviving, and I feel more of the support of what do you need in that moment. And so I feel loved too. So I'm doing good.
That's wonderful. I think it is important to say because a lot of times people ask, well, how are you doing? And we just say fine.
Mm-hmm.
And we leave it at that. And in certain situations, because everybody doesn't need to know all of our business, fine is fine. But when people who genuinely care ask how you're doing, I think it's important to say when you're not fine, because you never know how that person might be able to help, or at least just be an ear to listen and a heart help hold some of that weight, because it is a lot. You mentioned caregiving for your family. I know that recently your mom has been sick and in and out of the hospital over the past really couple of years. And so that can really take a toll on a family as a whole. And as someone who has been advocating for paid leave and paid sick days and all of that, I think you always understood it, but it's different when it's right there in front of you. And So I would love for you to talk a little bit about how you're trying to piece that together. How are you holding all of that?
It's been interesting to really understand that all the work that I do is personal. And I'm so passionate about it because I'm going through it day to day. And I share that because through this campaign, I think I've been more open about that as well, that a lot of the work that I do is not just because it impacts me, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel if everyone else is able to have policies in place that help them also thrive, not just survive. We say that all the time, right? We want families to thrive. So it's all personal. I always share my story now. I used to be very, I think, more silent and quiet about the things that I have been through. But I've learned that being silent and quiet is not helping people also understand why I can be the advocate, that trust, and building that relationship until I do get personal with them. So it's been hard because I am mentally trying to balance personal emotions and professional emotions and everything coming at me at one time. And I laugh and think about that trend that's going around on TikTok, right? My Netflix documentary, because I actually felt that was something I can really relate to. And I did make a video to say, this is everything I'm balancing. I am at a nonprofit doing the work. I am a mother. I am a candidate. I am an elected official. And it is all about the balance and creating boundaries, which is something that I'm also working through because growing up, we were very much of, have to work and work and work and work and no excuses and don't take time off or don't take a break. You know, you get what you get and you deal with it. And kind of moving out of that space too has been something I've learned in the past few years.
We talk a lot about sharing our stories because it's a way of organizing, right? But I also know how hard it is to talk about the things that are sad or frustrating and things that we don't have the answers to as we encourage other people to do it. How has that been received for you as you talk to people about how you manage the day-to-day of helping take care of your family as well as your children? Because you're in that sandwich, even with your taking care of your parents, but also taking care of children while also still trying to work. And it's like you're smushed in between.
Being part of the sandwich generation has definitely been an experience to go through. I really appreciate the folks who are genuinely asking how I'm doing, because part of it has been, like, let me just brain dump things and I myself will work through it. And they were just kind of like a sounding board. And then I'm like, okay, sorry, because we'll add real personal things sometimes. Even just my mom. My mom's in the hospital this week and I'm not physically there, but I'm mentally there. And I'm trying to balance that with all the other things that are on my to-do list for the day. It has taught me to very much put my foot down and say no too. That is something that I've worked on, and letting folks know about boundaries. And I always laugh because I always tell people, if you're approaching me, what capacity are you approaching me in? Because I need to mentally prepare. And I've been trying to do that for the past few years. And I feel like we're finally in a place where they're like, no, I'm talking to you as Brenda from Make It Work. Okay, cool. Thank you. I'm talking to you as trustee. Okay, thank you. Or just you. I love the messages I get of, how's Brenda yourself doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be honest. This is what's going on. This is going on with my kids. Week of school was really tough. I'm going through the issues. So I appreciate that. But I think being more open about the day-to-day struggles that I have gone through also helps me kind of breathe. I'm like, okay, it's off my chest in a way, and I was able to problem solve it. But then it's also gives a different perspective of people, how they look at me too. Because one thing I've learned through therapy, I am a big advocate for therapy now, is you have to show people that you are a human being and a person and you have emotions. Stop trying to be the superhero. And that really stuck with me of, I do not need to be a superhero to people. I can be vulnerable. I can share my feelings. I can share my struggles to the limits where I'm comfortable.
No, that makes sense completely. I think in thinking about things that make you human, school has started again. The new school year is up upon us. And I am no longer a parent of a student at CCSD. And I would like to boast about that as much as possible, that I no longer have to do back to school anything or even think about it. And honestly, I would say how easy it is. It didn't even cross my mind. It was like, school starting. Oh, that's so nice. Good for y'all. But I also know that the school schedule has changed. The bell clock has changed of what time people go based upon elementary, junior high, high school, and all of that. And that's been a little bit of a disruption. And even as a sitting school board member, it's still disruptive for you as well. And it's caused you to have to change the times of meetings and what you can and cannot do, and openly ask for some breathing room and lenience on like when we meet, you know. And although I can say that, yes, it's probably a lot easier for you because you've been here so long. And also I understand, and this is the work that we do, but also it says something that, you know, parents can say, hey, the bell schedule has changed. I might need to change up my schedule a little bit. How can you work with me in advocating for what you need at your job as well?
It has been a week and a half. I always say I'm so privileged to be able to be in a space and a job where it can't be flexible. But I'm going through it. I am going through it. Oh my goodness. There's a big gap between my middle schoolers and my elementary school kid. So it's about an hour and 30 minutes. And it's even trying to adjust as I'm a person that works from home. It's an issue, right? We've talked about it. We said we could do calls in the car. Yes, but it also becomes a barrier if I'm sitting outside waiting for the school bell to ring and the service is terrible. Right. So I'm trying to balance things and there's no Wi-Fi or my service just sucks in the school. And I feel like it's all the elementary schools around that have really terrible service. So I'm like, okay, that's not even a real solution. It has been very, I want to say, sad to see folks go on social media and vent. And I recently just watched a video of a mom and she goes, I have to leave work early. She's telling her boss, I have to go because something happened. I think the bus didn't drop off the child correctly because transportation has been also a really big issue that we're dealing with. And the boss is like, and they were a little hesitant. And she's like, you know what? If you need to fire me, it's fine. Fire me. And I'm like, these are things that real families are going through. And I get very emotional. And I think the emotional part is anger. Like, why can't we be more flexible to the parents, especially knowing school is starting, knowing what we're in and what we have to deal with already? Why would that boss be so hesitant? I don't know. And she was just saying, if you fire me, she's saying that out loud. In a way, I resonate with the mom. I haven't been in that situation a very long time, but I remember where jobs were not flexible. I remember having to take my kids 6 a.m. to the babysitter. She did school pickups and drop-offs, and I will not pick up my kids till 7, 8 p.m. at night. So knowing something was happening, not be able to go and be with my child or help my child or just show up, it breaks my heart. So I'm very intentional with some of the decisions or some of the questions that get asked in my sitting role, making sure I'm thinking of those stories and those families and bringing it to light, because I think other board members, they're privileged like I am. And I don't think went through it years ago and I still remember and carry that with me. So I think that's the different perspective I also bring with the board. I was there not so long ago.
And I think thinking about what goes through a parent's mind when they say, okay, you just have to fire me, knowing they need their job, knowing that they don't want to not work there, but it's just like, I can't handle the stress of you on my back at the same time as I have to do this other thing as well that I can't work around. It's like, you can't work around the school schedule. The school schedule is a school schedule. And you can only drop a kid off so early anyway. The flexibility that is required for business owners and for managers and what have you, to think about those things and to plan around those things. I think it is a part of our duties in this workforce to do that. And it can be hard, right? It can be. And it's like, okay, can you work later, or can you do this, or can you do that? There's ways to figure it out. We have to not be stringent and structured and working 9 to 5 and 40 hours a week or what have you. There's so many other ways to make sure that we are getting jobs done, that people don't want to think outside the box. But also, I think that people, I don't know, there's conversations I've seen about, oh, if you do this for one person, you got to do it for everybody. Everybody needs different things. So what's wrong with that? What's wrong with being malleable and flexible in that way? Why is that such a bad thing? Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's get ourselves stuck into things and think if we do that, now we're spoiling them or something, or we're being too nice. And what's wrong being nice? I don't know.
It also helps with retention. We've talked about it as we talk about paid days and paid leave. It helps them because people will stay at the job where they're being flexible and accommodating. And at the end of the day, it helps them.
Because don't you want to stay at a job where you like the people and they like you and they care about you? And good benefits doesn't just mean health insurance. It also means good benefits that you feel taken care of and seen as a whole person. But, and speaking of seeing people as whole people, I think you know that I've been really obsessed with watching the live court streaming of various court cases over the past year, but specifically the Clancy case that is going right now, which is the mother who has been charged with murdering her 3 children and then allegedly trying to also kill herself. And now she's paralyzed. And so she's on trial for murder. And the defense is that she had postpartum depression and that she was not in her right mind when all this was happening. And I think it's a very divisive, probably subject and conversation. But as I'm watching it and also reading the comments, which can be very dangerous, but I feel really sad for her and the children. But I feel really sad for the whole situation because all the things that are being unraveled and talked about, it just feels as though there weren't the right systems and resources in place for her. And it seemed as though she was asking for help. Not even seems as though, like there's a clear line of her being on various medications and even being in an inpatient facility and going to therapy and reaching out to people and letting her parents know and family members know and her job know that she was not okay. Letting her husband know she was not okay. She didn't keep all this inside. She didn't just keep it to herself and try to cope. She was on a variety of medications. She was asking about other medications. She was saying that I can't go back to work, that I don't think I would be good at my job. And she was a nurse. So she didn't feel like that was a good idea. She was constantly paying attention to herself and her needs in order to try to be better and even documenting it, keeping a diary. And yet this still happened. And yet they're still questioning whether or not it was real. And that really scares me. And I think a part of it, what scares me is that this is a well-to-do white woman, like a middle class, upper middle class white woman, college educated, who seemed to be asking for help and wanting to be better. And this happened. And we still got the outcome we got where we have children that are no longer here and her on trial for murder and people questioning whether or not it was fake. So I can't even imagine if she was a Black woman or if she was an immigrant, brown woman from South America or what have you, like the benefit of the doubt just really wouldn't be there. But it's just really concerning to me. And I think about it because this is a part of the work that we do, right? We talk about reproductive justice, and reproductive justice is the right to raise children in a healthy environment, have access to the resources you need, including culturally competent that listen to you. And I don't feel like that's what she had. There's a lot of reproductive injustice and a lot of unknowns about postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, and what that even really means and how it should be treated and what the level of concern should be.
I know that we have done a lot of work of the education piece of letting folks know that they can do interviews with their healthcare providers, right? Like you can go and do a regular interview to see if that you even feel like they will listen to you and really pay attention to what you are saying. And it is a very sad story, but I think that this is putting that more into light, right? She was trying. She knew, something was wrong. She went to multiple people to get help. She still felt like she was not getting the support needed. So I feel like in a way, this is a great education piece. We can talk about it more. Hey, this was national news. We have seen what has happened. And she tried her best. We need to be better of also making sure we find great people to take care of us that will listen to us. I mean, I think I went to 3 different people before finding a therapist that I genuinely felt was listening to me, because I, just have had so much trauma after giving birth to my kids. And I had to suppress all that. And at first with a few therapists, it was like, well, they're just going to kind of get over it type thing. Or they really wanted to medicate me for a while. And it was not helpful because it was very much like sedative type of medication. But I had to take care of my 2 and 3-year-olds by myself. So it was not fruitful for me. And I finally did continue looking for help and found someone that really, I feel, understood what exactly I needed. But it's a good reminder. Hey, we can.
And
go
you were
interview
young.
people. I was young. I was 20.
You were very young. And I think that also adds into it. I tell people all the time, I had my children young as well. And I don't feel like I was listened to or heard when I had certain questions. And I was sometimes looked at as someone who just didn't know any better, or that they could just say whatever. And I was just going to agree to it without further investigation. And they didn't speak to me as a peer or as adult. They spoke to me. I was a child, and I wasn't a child. I was a grown up. I lived on my own, but that wasn't how it was presented to me. But now though, and I had this conversation with actually the young woman who does my nails, who is getting ready to give birth to her 3rd child. And she's actually very interesting to me because she is about the same age as I was when I had my children. And she's in her late 20s, and I was in my late 20s when I had my 3rd, and she's having her 3rd. And she has said to me on various occasions, I don't know that I understand exactly like the work that you do, or why you need to tell people to advocate for themselves, because, I naturally do this. I said I didn't want this during my birth. She had a whole birth plan and she stuck to it. And I said, everyone doesn't have that inside them, that audacity, because she looks at it as like, this is what I said and this is what we're going to do. And that's just how it is. And I don't know if that's a part of maybe just her upbringing, or, she's a Leo too. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of different things I think that comes into the mixture of that. But she does walk with this confidence, even being a person still in their 20s who says this is how it is. And I said, yeah, I don't even know that I had that, because I remember specifically someone saying I wasn't in labor, and I was in labor. And to the point of convincing me that I wasn't in labor. And I'm like, but no, I know that I'm in labor. I know this is what is happening. And a doctor telling me no, to the point where then I'm like, maybe I'm wrong. Start second guessing myself. And I was in labor. But I wonder what it is we need to teach our children, our young girls, but also our boys too. But what do we, especially our young girls though, what do we need to teach them about how we, there's room for questioning authority, and to listen to your gut, and to say no whenever it's not just about dating and everything else. Like, say no to any authority is telling you something that you like, this just doesn't feel right, and to ask for a second opinion, and to, to demand you got to see a manager or an attending doctor or whatever it is, that you don't end up in dire situations.
Yeah. I think we have to set the example too as parents, because I will share my oldest, she's 13. She's had 12 surgeries. So it's been a really long road with her. But since she was younger, I remember her pain tolerance is really high. But that day she had an ear infection. It was really hurting her. I think I still have video of it. She was about 4 years old and we're sitting in the emergency room and she's chanting, I need medicine. I need it now. I need medicine. I need it now. I need medicine. I need it now. But it's an example, right? I
Come
would
on with
take
the
her to
chants.
protest
Mhm.
and we would just chant and have these chants. And I never thought that she was understanding or realizing or connecting those dots. I for so long thought they thought they were just going to work with mom, or they're just doing something with mom, or they have to go and stand in front of this place with mom. They showed me that it translated to their day-to-day life, because even now, I don't have any issues with her in school either. She advocates for herself. She honestly, right before this, she was just telling me a story where someone stole money from my other child and she had to go get the boy and was like, that's my sister's money, give her money back. She has no problem standing up to anyone. And that's the one thing I feel very proud of, because I get that when we're having conversations with the teachers. Oh, Scarlett, she tells me what she needs. She doesn't even have an opportunity to be asked. Scarlett is straight to the point. I need to sit in front of the classroom, or I need to stand up and be by the board because I cannot see. I need support in this. I need an extension on this. She's very good at advocating, but I think it's because it's by example.
Yeah. I think also it's really important for us as parents to make sure that they're seeing us do it like in real time when we're going to the doctor, and they're paying attention to that. They're also paying attention in how we, speak to other places of authority or what have you. And also it's us coaching and giving them the space to go do it and not fixing it for them. And so, I think I told one of your daughters, I was like, yeah, your mom can take care of that, but I'm going to need you to go and tell that teacher what it is that you need in order to make sure you have the right learning environment. You have to stand up for yourself as well. But it is easier said than done, right? There's been times that I've thought about stuff and what I should have said or what I should have done, and I didn't because I felt like I was going to ruffle feathers or what have you. I wasn't going to say what needs to be said. And I think that goes back to being in the workplace. And it's like telling your manager or boss or whoever, hey, you know what? We need to rethink my schedule. We need to rethink, my work timeline, what have you. I've got these things coming up. We have to do that from the beginning, and we have to do it in every aspect of our life. And yeah, like I said, it's easier said than done. But I think when you're juggling multiple things, especially the way that we are, especially the way that you are, you're juggling a little bit more than I am. So you have to have a lot of boundaries. And I think boundaries is something I think is really important.
You're listening to
Sticky Note Conversations with Erika Washington.
How do you set boundaries as an elected official? Because I think sometimes people may not see you as a whole human being. And elected officials are public servants, so to say, but you're not actually a servant. You're serving in a public capacity, work for the greater good of the community, not to be a punching bag. And I know people can be very audacious. And especially online, people get behind a camera or a keyboard and they get all thuggish. But even at these school board meetings, how do you create boundaries? And how do you get people to understand that you are one person, a part of a larger board, but also you are still a human being, and respect is still deserved, even if you don't necessarily agree on a topic?
Oh, it's been a very interesting 4 years, like learning how to set those boundaries, because I've been in office for 4 years now. At first, I think it was very chaotic because I wanted to make sure everyone felt heard. I wanted to make sure, everyone knew they can have a relationship with me. But then it felt like I was giving them too much access to me. And if I was not picking up the phone or answering a text message immediately, then it would be, well, you're just ignoring me. And it'd be very negative. And I honestly would cry, because I would either be dealing things with my children or I'd be dealing things with my parents, or I was doing other stuff. It's not because I was being malicious. And I had to understand that I'm never going to please everyone, and that I can go to sleep knowing that I tried my very best to help. So that's a constant reminder I have for myself. I set the boundary of, I'll have a conversation. I do not have a solution. What can you do to bring a solution? And then we can work together, right, to problem solve, because I'm very open and honest with everyone. I am not a professional in this. I am not an expert. I am just trying to raise people's voices and stories to the dais, but I cannot do it by myself. And honestly, do not expect me to have the solutions, because I'm still learning. So I think I have to be really honest with that part of it, that piece of it. Okay, what's your solution? Well, I don't know. Okay, maybe we should both go and do research and then come back to the conversation. And if you're not going to try to help and you just want to honestly yell at me, then I'm not going to give you my time of day, because I have a meeting to attend for work. I'm doing a bigger fight, I think, at a state level. So I had to really talk myself through that too. When we're talking about some of the issues, parents are upset. Hey, I am the person that's trying to do the work through policy for the state of Nevada, not just at this level, local level. So it has been a lot of that too, of, hey, I might not be fully on social media arguing people back and forth, but just understand it is because I'm doing research on what kind of things we can do differently. So I do a lot of homework, but it had to be a lot of that. Even with media wanted to reach out all the time and interview, and I had to set a boundary of, no, I'm not going to bend over backwards so you can, get clickbait stories.
Does that concern you, people taking things out of context?
Yes, it is so scary. I think I learned the hard way when I was campaigning the first time. I did an interview and it was published. It was definitely different what I was trying to get across. So I've learned, instead of trying to come up with an answer, to just words better to be direct and say, I don't have an answer for that. Or I just don't know that part. And then they won't share that, right? They'll cut that out of the stories most of the time. But it's honesty. I don't know that. And I don't want to make myself look like an ass because I was trying to just come up with some type of answer to give you.
Yeah, I think people are afraid to say they don't know, but sometimes we just don't know. Or it's like, I need to get back to you on that. Like, I need more research or what have you to be able to answer that succinctly. But people are looking for, especially now, I think with social media, folks are looking for gotcha moments.
Yeah.
Or for you to slip up in some sort of way. And again, it takes away from even thinking that you're a human being, that you can misspeak. I mean, think about just tongue slips and you say something because more than one thing is happening in your mind and it has nothing to do with anything. You're like, oh, what did you mean by that? What does this mean? And what does that mean? And, let's just not be silly. Let's just not be silly.
Yeah, and it happens to me a lot because I balance a lot of things in my head. There'll be things I say and they're like, well, what do you mean? I almost cussed. My bad. Oh, I forgot what I even said. Like, that is the reality. I'll say things and then I'll forget what I had just said because my brain cannot, I think, retain it. Like, I'll have an answer and then just say it, and then I can't remember what I said or anything. So it's been interesting.
I stay away from brain.
Yeah. So I just stay away from interviews because I say sometimes it's not beneficial,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
what do you love about being a school board member?
Is that a trick question? It's really interesting because it's been a long 4 years. You've been there, so some of the insanity and some of the things I've had to deal with. But as in the re-election, people ask me, why do you want to do this again? And it's hard for me to not be honest and say, I don't know. I think what it is my heart is saying we still need that voice. I always think back of when we at Make It Work, we were, organizing through the pandemic, and we were reaching out to our community members and asking, what do they need so we can connect them? And everyone had an issue with CCSD at the time. Everyone, there was all these different stories from Wi-Fi access, from transportation access, just so many stories that none of the trustees could talk about or knew that was happening. So I realized that I can be that connection because I am in the community. I am a community member. I am a working mom. I have children in the district, special education children in the district, resonated with a lot of people. So I think I still need to continue that. Yes, the board has grown. We went from 7 to 11, but I still think there's a lack of that perspective from having children in the district and going through the things that everyday families are going through. And I will joke, transportation has been a mess in the past since school started. I will say I get those notifications. They're telling me they're picking up my child late. I didn't even sign up my child. I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm going through the same things firsthand over trying to just say, oh, I went to this community town hall and this is what they said. No, I'm bringing that firsthand perspective. My children are living through it every day. And I have other communities that I'm close with that will bring their stories too. So I feel like there's a lack of that and I can still continue to bring that. So I love trying to problem solve as we're doing discussions of how do we communicate and reach the community. Oh, I feel I'm a professional in that. My job has been communications before, right? How do we get to our people, meet people where they're at? So that's the piece that I love and I hang on to, that I feel like I'm trying to show up for everyone.
Sticky Note Conversations with Erika Washington.
Hi, my name is Aaron Ford.
Hi, my name is Nina Nova.
Hi, I'm Lori Lee.
And you're listening to
Sticky Note Conversations
with Erika Washington.
Hey y'all, I'm Erika Washington, the host, creator, and executive producer of Sticky Note Conversations. My life, my mind, is always running way too fast. So I jot down thoughts, questions about life, wish lists, goals, all on sticky notes. One sticky note was this podcast. Over the course of my journalism and social justice journey, I've met some really amazing people, but I hated that I couldn't talk longer and really dive into their lived experiences, their views of the world, and their dreams for the future. Sticky Note Conversation is for anyone who enjoys a really good conversation.
Sticky Note Conversations with Erika Washington.
I think that it's a thankless position and I think more people who know that they would never have run for office, they'll never run for office, that they have to add that layer of, oh, this is something you would never do. So look at that as an extra added, like, wow, the fact that they even decided to do it, but then also to try to do it well and to try to learn how to be the best at it. And then he continues to do it even when, there are moments where you're getting beat up online via social media bullies or what have you, while doing it, while juggling kids who are sometimes not grateful for the loving parents that they have because they're in their own worlds of hormone-induced realities on top of having to go to work and having demands of your job. And it's a lot. And y'all also are not paid. So I like to remind people that a lot of elected officials in the state of Nevada are not paid salaries. Like there are stipends and reimbursements for travel or gas or whatever it is y'all get, but you're not paid a salary from it. It's a volunteer position. And so then you're volunteering to be beat up on by random people who don't offer solution.
That's why I stay away from social media, because when there is those bullies and I get tagged, I see it all. I will see it all. I never respond. But the one thing that I tell myself is, you all have the time to do this attack, post about me. Must be nice because I have to sit here and fight with my kids of food. What are we going to eat for dinner? Fight about chores, fight about homework, and I still have work to do. And I don't even have the time to be able to think of a long post attacking someone on social media. So I tell myself that, and that's how I calm myself down, because sometimes it does hurt. And I read them because sometimes they can be what is it? Good feedback where it's like, oh, okay, I see where I
criticism.
There you go. Constructive criticism. And I'll read them for that reason. What is something that I can do better? How can I show up? What did I miss so I can fix that or whatever? But I will not get into the, oh my God, they called me, a groomer, whatever. That doesn't bother me because I'm like, I have bigger fish to fry.
Well, you've got a lot of fish to fry. You don't fry fish. You shouldn't cook. Let's get down to it. She doesn't fry fish. Fried fish, Brenda. That's what I know. You don't cook. Anyway, before we go, again, thank y'all for listening to Sticky Note Conversations. This is a random conversation with the ins and outs of Brenda Zamora and her Make It Work life, as well as her Clark County School Board trustee life. But she also helps with the podcast and the clips of the podcast that end up on social media. She helps create those and push those out. And I'll be interested in what clips she pulls out for this particular episode since it's hers. But thinking about the future, thinking about Nevada being number 2 for the next presidential election, and number 2 primaries, thinking about this election and all of the people that are running, thinking about what democracy looks like in the world that we live in right now. What is your hope for the future? Or what are you hopeful about?
I'm hoping we open doors for the younger generation to run for office and actually support them. I always crack up at TikToks of Mayor Mamdani that he's the world's mayor and people posting like, I'm in Pittsburgh, but that's my mayor. And I very much feel that way. I'm in Vegas and that's my mayor, right? But I had a lot of barriers to go through to get support from establishments. And I, being the youngest, I've had to go through barriers because I had to prove myself that I'm not just a mom. Like I actually had experience with policy and state level things. And trying to get people to believe in me was hard. I'm still going through that now, and it's been 4 years. So as we've seen candidates run, we have to believe in them more. And I'm hopeful that we can start opening those doors and raising up and really supporting in a genuine way these people that might have new ideas that we do not have. Things have been stuck. We're very old school, I think, as just establishments are very old school. So how do we change it and spice it up a little bit and bring in that new vision, new solutions, things that we haven't gone through? Because I see it as I will not be able to ever speak as a high school student because I graduated so many years ago. And even though I experienced it, that doesn't mean is what they need right now. So I think it's the same overall with elected officials of it used to be this way and these are some solutions from back in the day, but the youth are going through life right now. So everyone is struggling in some way or form. So opening doors for them to come up with their solutions and respecting it.
Yeah, because voice and their experience matters and it's very different from ours. And I think that in order for us to actually continue growth, like you have to be able to pass the baton. So I think that in that space, it's time to start looking at the younger folks, the 20-somethings, and saying, hey, who's ready for school board? Because a lot of people think about running for office. A lot of people don't think about school board races, though. Yeah. They think about state senate or Congress and all of that, which all of those need young voices too. But local government can really use young voices and those who are experienced and who have lived life through, especially if they went to school in the school district as well, to be able to give back and help bring to light some of the issues that we may not experience, because I, for one, didn't go to CCSD. So I think that that's a whole different perspective. So I think that's really important to encourage our folks to get involved, civic engagement and all of that. So make sure you're registered to vote.
People need to listen, because I feel I have always been vocal about being a mom. And now that I'm running for re-election, I think folks are paying more attention. and are trying to be, more intentional with me. And I'll share, because of my kids. And they're like, what? I'm like, where have you been at? What do you mean? What? You have kids? I'm like, yes, I have 3 kids too. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I've always been so vocal. Like, I feel like it's disrespectful sometimes where I'm like, have you not listened to anything I have said in the past few years? Like, where are we at? So I just want to open the doors. I'm hopeful that we can start really listening to the youth and what they have to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Listening for understanding, not just listening to respond. Anywho, Brenda Zamora, thank you for being a guest on Sticky Note Conversations. Thank you for being the Deputy Director of Make It Work Nevada. Thank you for being a caregiver to your family. Thank you for your honesty about how hard all of those things are to hold at the same time, but also thank you for your gumption and tenacity to want to still do all of those things because you know that it all matters and it's a key part of being in the community and showing up constantly. And thank you for being a good role model and mentor to the young folks, your young folks, my young folks, everybody's young folks. And I'm grateful to know you. And I am glad that you want to continue to make it work with me and that there's so much more to do. And hopefully you'll come back and we'll just do gossip or something. Cheesemay.
Yes.
Cheesemay. National
Hour.
News Cheesemay. We need a Cheesemay hour. Talk about all the political things going on.
We do have it in our check-in agendas. We do our Cheesemay hour.
We do.
Not an hour.
Look, that's a part of work. But that is a part of work. Look, we have to get our Cheesemay in so we understand what's going on because news matters. That's how we have to focus on how we're going to do the work we do. We don't know what's going on out there in the world. My goodness. And there's so much happening. There's a lot of stuff happening in Vegas and beyond. But this has been Sticky Note Conversations. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation as much as we have. And we look forward to seeing you next week with a brand new episode. Thanks again.
Thank you for listening to Sticky Note Conversations, hosted and produced by Erika Washington, edited by Black Gypsy LLC. Special thanks to KUNB 91.5. This show is powered by Make It Work Nevada, a project of Beyond Impact.